Okay, so we're looking at inventory valuation here, and we've got the question. So the main purpose of inventory valuation is so that we can determine the value of the closing inventory. Colleagues, if you remember in questions for financial statements, you will see under additional information, they'll tell you closing inventory is this amount. That amount has been tabulated through one of these inventory valuation methods. Okay, so the main purpose is want to value our closing inventory. Also, this inventory valuation can also help us determine the cost of the goods that have been sold. So we've got a question here, and we're going to see how we do this inventory valuation. Okay, so the question reads, we've got transactions here for this company. It's got no name. They told us the opening inventory is 50 units. We've got different transactions after that, purchases, issues, and issues. So those are the main transactions you'll be dealing with. Purchases, issues, sometimes they can also be put as sales. Those two main transactions here. That's what you'll be dealing with. So it's not that complicated. So we're going to start with the first method, the first in, first out, meaning the goods that came in first will be the goods that will be sold or issued first. Okay. So as we go, so this is what's called a stores ledger. Okay. Usually when doing inventory valuation, this table will help you. It's called the stores ledger. All right. So we start. We have opening inventory, 50 units. They're valued at 2 kwacha per unit. All right. So in our stores ledger, we've got three main columns. Okay. We've got the receipts column. Receipts also purchases. That's one column. You've got the issue or sales column. And you have the balance column. Okay. These are the three main columns. Receipts, also called purchases, issues or sales, and the balance. And each column has quantity, price, and value. Okay. Under purchases, there's quantity, price, and value. Under issues, there's quantity, price, and value. Under the balance, also there's quantity, price, and value. So we're going to start with our opening stock, all right? 50 units, that's the quantity. They're valued at 2 kwacha per unit. So the total value, we're going to say 50 times 2 kwacha per unit. That's the total value of the inventory that we have in stock, all right? 100 kwacha. So that's the first thing you usually do with these questions. First, you look for your opening stock and you put it on the balance section. Okay. The next, we're going to go through our transactions. On the first, this company purchased 20 units at 20 kwacha each. All right. So here on the date, you're going to put the first. We purchased 20 units valued at 20 kwacha per unit. So 20 times 20, purchases cost was 400 kwacha. So this is what you need to take note of. Every time there is a purchase, right, you are going to now need to like split your inventory into different batches. Okay. So what I mean is this. Initially, we had 50 goods. valued at 2 kwacha per unit. The total value was 100 kwacha. Then now we've brought in 20 goods. Okay, I'll use Word. Excel won't help me put these properly in different batches. Let me put it like this here. Yes, we initially had 50 goods valued at 2 kwacha per unit. Then now we've brought in 20 goods valued at 20 kwacha per unit. So 20 times 20, that gives you 400. Okay, so every time you purchase goods, okay, you need to, the way I've separated them like this, that's what you're going to also need to do. Okay, you separate them. Okay, any questions before I move further? Okay, yes, yes, go ahead, sir. Okay, you are going to see why when we do an issues. The reason why we're doing this also is so that when we make a sale or an issue, we're going to know from which batch we need to remove from. Okay, you need to know from which batch you're going to move from. So that's why you need to divide them like this, and that will be illustrated as you see whenever there's an issue or sale. Madam Sylvia, these values we're getting them from these transactions here. Okay. Our opening inventory, we had 50 units valued at 2 kwacha. You put on the balance side here. The next transaction that occurred, we bought 20 units valued at 20 kwacha. So when there's a purchase, you put it in the purchases column here. 20 units valued at 20 kwacha, total value 400 kwacha. Then when you make a purchase, you divide your units into batches like this. Okay, our next transaction, again, there's another purchase. We purchased 30 units at 18 kwacha per unit. So that was on the second. So we purchased 30 units at 18 kwacha. So we put here 30 valued at 18 kwacha. So 30 times 18. Let's get our calculators. 540 kwacha here. So as I said, whenever there's a purchase, you need to divide up your inventory. That's okay. So we have initially we had 50 goods valued at 2 kwacha per unit. Total value is 100 kwacha here. Then we've also got 20 units. Just align these figures here. Then we've got 20 units valued at 20 kwacha. You put the total value 400. Then now we've brought in 30 units valued at 18 kwacha. The value 540. I think there's someone trying to. So every time there's a purchase, you're going to have to do this. Now I'm just trying to align them so that they're in order. Yes, like that. Okay, each time there's a purchase, just remember, this is how you just have to separate your goods like this. All right. Every time there's a purchase. So now we'll go to our next transaction. We issued 20 units. All right. So these units that are issued, they can be either issued to another production department, okay, or they can also be sold. But anytime there's an issue or a sale, you are going to value the inventory at cost. Okay. Anytime there's an issue or a sale, you're going to value the inventory at cost. Why? Because that when you value them at cost, when we end the process, we'll be able now to tabulate the cost of goods sold. And also remember, assets are also valued at their cost value. All right. This inventory is also an asset. So here, pay attention on this is the Fifo. This is where the Fifo is now going to apply here. Okay. So we've issued 20 units. So we're going to come to this batch of inventory here, and we're going to see which one came in first, or which one was there first. It's these 50 units valued at 2 kwacha per unit. All right. So the 20 units that we're going to issue, we're going to value them at this 2 kwacha here. Okay. Because remember, first in, first out, the goods that came in first are issued or sold first. So in this case, our opening inventory was there first. So whenever we issue, we're going to remove from the top batch. All right. And we'll value that inventory at the cost of the top batch, which is 2 kwacha. So 20 times 2, that gives us 400. Then now this is what's going to happen here. Oh, 40. Sorry. Yeah, 20 times 2 is 40. So we removed 20 units from these 50 units. So it means we remained with 30 units valued at 2 kwacha. 30 times 2, that is 60 kwacha. Then we've still got these other 20 units valued at 20 kwacha. That is 400. And then we've got these 30 units valued at 18 kwacha 540. Yes. Any questions, colleagues? Okay. We issued 20 units, so we're going to remove it from the batch that was there early. Okay. So have you seen these 50 units that have now remained as 30 units? Okay. Yes. Any questions before I go to the next transaction? Yes, 20 units. Yes. Yeah, I will not given any amount. But as I said earlier on, yes, as I said earlier on, and this is a very important point to note, the inventory that is issued or sold will be valued at cost, at the cost price. Okay, so that it will enable us to get the cost of goods sold when we're done with the process. Once we tabulate the total issues and the total value, we'll be able to get the cost of the goods that have been sold. Mm-hmm. Yes. And you deplete the first batch. Mhm. So as you can see, just to even answer your question again, so with the next transaction, we've issued another 15 units. Okay. So these 15 units are going to come out from this batch, which was there the earliest. These 30 units valued at 2 kwacha. Excuse me. Okay. So we issued 15 units. So we value them at the cost of the inventory that was there first. So 15 times 2. 15 times 2, that is 30. So in our balance here, let me just bring the table down. Yes, in our balance here, we're going to have, so 30 minus 15, you have 15 units, okay, valued at 2 kwacha. So 15 times 2, that will give you 30. So until we deplete this first batch, that's when we move to the next one. We purchased 10 units at 15 kwacha. So purchases 10 units, 15 kwacha. 10 times 15, that is 150. So here on the balance part, we're going to include these 10 units valued at 1,550. Yes. So that was the last transaction. So we can now get the value of our closing inventory, which you're going to say 30 plus 400 plus 540 plus 150. What does that give you? 30 plus 400, 430 plus 540, that's 1,120. So that is the value of the closing inventory, 1,120. And the value of cost of goods sold, you just add this 40 plus 30, 70. This is the value of the cost of the goods sold. And you are done. Mhm, mhm. Oh, you can put here, so I can put like this totals. Okay, even the purchases cost, you can get the total purchases, you add this. But yes, to answer your question, Mr. Chimunya, you can put here totals so that the marker can know that, okay, those are your totals. You are waiting for a complicated formula? No, sir. No, sir. The only way the examiner can punish you with this question is they just give you a lot of transactions. But otherwise, it's once you get the concept, it's easy. So, any questions on Fifo before we now move to Lifo? Last in, first out. Mhm. Oh, what I mentioned, the purpose of this, as I said, the purpose is to get the value of the closing inventory and cost of goods sold. I'll prepare some notes for you on that. Okay, sir? Yes, because there are a lot of notes on this. There's a lot of stuff. You have to know in case they bring you multiple choice. Mhm. Oh, yes, the other ways they can bring this question. I'll show you. I will show you. But no matter how they bring the question, you just follow this method. Okay. So I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll give you a tutorial with the different questions there. Then you see how they usually come. But usually they'll tell you. They'll give you the transactions. They'll tell you these are the issues or these are the sales. These are the purchases. Then in the notes there, they'll give you information about opening inventory. Mhm. Then, in terms of terms, as you're asking if they use different terms, sometimes for purchases, you see receipts. Okay. Other times, you see issues or you see sales. Those are the only interchangeable terms that can be used. Otherwise, the rest still stays the same. Because, yes, they won't bring it as simple as this in the exam. They will try to confuse you. Okay. Don't worry, I've got questions. I've got more questions, so they'll come. You will see the way they come in the exam. Yes. Yeah. First, remember, we always have to start with baby steps. Okay. Because if you start the complicated way, there will be more confusion. Uh, okay. So we now go to Lifo. So Lif, huh? Was someone saying something? Yes, yes. Yes, I'm recording. Yes, I'm recording. Okay. Yes, so the next one is Lifo, last in, first out. Okay, so the goods that come in last are the first to be issued or to be sold. Okay, and as I said, these Lifo and Fifo, where they just differ is this part for issues or sales. Okay, so let's start with Lifo. So let me make another stores ledger here. Yes, so with Lifo, that opening inventory, this will be the same here. This purchase of 20 units will be the same. This purchase of 30 units is going to be the same. But where the difference will come in now is when we issue these 20 units. So this one is under LIFO here. Our opening inventory, we've recorded it 50 units at Tokwach. Our first purchase, 20 units at 20 kwacha, which is 400, we've recorded. You separate your inventory like this. Another purchase has been made, 30 units at 18 kwacha, total 540. Again, you separate your inventory like this. Now, when we come to the first issue for the 20 units, okay, so we're focusing on this side here. So the inventory that came in last, which is these 30 units, that's what we're going to remove from. Okay. So these 20 units that we issue, we remove from this batch of 30, which are valued at 18 kwacha. All right. So here on issues, under the price, you put 18 kwacha. 20 times 18, 360. So on the balance section, since we removed from these 30 units, so they've removed 20, so they've remained 10 of them valued at 18 kwacha. So here we put 10 times 8, 180 kwacha. Any questions? Okay, we issued 20 units. So we're going to remove it from the batch that came in last. And the batch that came in last was these 30 units valued at 18 kwacha. So these 20 units that have been issued will be removed from this batch at the bottom here. In Fifo, remember we removed from this batch on top the 50 units because they were there first. But with Lifo, we're removing from the batch for these 30 units because they came in last. Last in, first out. Is that okay, sir? Sure. Okay. We issued 20 units. This is the last in, first out. So these 20 units, we're going to remove them from this batch of 30 units. Why? Because these are the units that came in last. So these 20 units that have been issued will be removed from this batch of 30 units that came in last. That's what I was saying. Because we're doing Lifo, last in, first out. Yes. If you're using Fifo, you remove from the earliest batch. Lifo, you remove from the latest batch. Yes. Because what happens if they don't specify? If they don't specify, you can use any method, but they always specify. They always specify. And they usually come, they always tell you to do the three. Most of the times they'll tell you to do the three. Mm-hmm. Yes. We can go to the next transaction. Okay, we issued another 15 units. If you remember, we issued 15 units. Okay, so these 15 units, the first 10 will come out from this last batch. Okay, because we've issued 15 units. So first remove the 10 from the latest batch. So you're going to put here 10 valued at 18 kwacha. That is 180. Then the remaining 5 you remove from this batch here. Okay, because this was the second latest batch. So you put 5, 20 kwacha each. That is 100 kwacha. So in total, we've issued 15. The first 10 were removed from this batch. The remaining 5 were removed from this batch in the middle there. So these 10 units have gone. And then these 20 units, since we removed 5, so there are 15 remaining, valued at 20. So that's 300 kwacha. Any questions? We've issued 15 units. So the first 10 come out from here. Then the next 5 come out from there. Okay, colleagues? Questions? Mhm. Mm, the other side, yes. But yes. Mhm. Okay. You've said it correctly, sir. I hope everyone has heard what you've said also. Any other questions? Yes. Because colleagues, this is the next question here. Okay. Because after there are questions for you. So ask when you're not comfortable. Okay, we move on to the next transaction. I think it was the final one. Yes, purchased 10 units at 15 kwacha. 10 units at 15 kwacha. You come under the purchases column. 10 units, 15 kwacha per unit, total 150. Now, colleagues, you are in luck today. Do you know why you are in luck? Do you know why you are in luck? Especially for those who haven't yet grasped the concept. Do you know why you are in luck? Because I'm teaching also this to the second years in cost accounting. This same process, inventory valuation, I'm teaching them to second years. So if you haven't understood, you should stay in the link so that when the second years come, you see this process again. But for those who have understood, no worries. You can try the questions afterwards. Okay, so the last transaction we purchased, all right, we purchased. Wait, am I on the wrong tape? Yeah, I'm on the wrong tape. We purchased 15 units, 10 units at 15 kwacha, so 150 here. So here on our balance section, so you're going to put 10 units, 15 kwacha, 150. So we can now get the value of our closing inventory. Okay. So 60 plus 300, 360. 360 plus 150. I'm adding these last values here. Okay. To get the value of closing inventory. Right. So 60 plus 300, 360 plus 150. I think that should be 360 plus 150. 510, yes. So this is the value of the closing inventory. 510. So these methods will give you different values of closing inventory. Okay, colleagues? Don't think you have to get the same value. No, they'll give you different values. So this 510, this is the value of the closing inventory. If you want to know the value of the cost of goods sold, you just add 360 plus 180 plus 100. 640. Value of cost of goods sold. And if you want to know the value of purchases, the purchases expense, you just add 400 plus 550, 940. 940 plus 150, 1090. Okay, that's purchases. Because of the way the inventory is valued, you saw with Fifo, when these units are coming in, they're coming in at different prices. Okay. So you saw with Fifo where we're getting the oldest stock there. The oldest stock was valued at a lower price. So you can even see the cost of goods sold is going to be a lower amount. Closing inventory will be a higher amount. Cost of goods sold will be a lower amount. Purchases will still be the same. Purchases always stay the same. But that's why the disparity, madam. These units, when they're coming in at different prices. And then how we are treating them in these methods. One is getting the older one is getting the newer one. So you wouldn't expect them to be the same. Yes, closing inventory there.